Hey, Warrior Saints. Glad to have you beautiful people in with us as we continue talking about darkness and light. And Father Chris set us up yesterday beautifully, talking about Genesis and how the darkness was in the world and God conquers the darkness by controlling it, by introducing light into the world. And the Gospel of John plays on this. And I've got to tell you, in moments that I am struggling, that the darkness from within feels like it's starting to overcome me, I turn back to John. I turn back to that beautiful gospel and I look at that first chapter, specifically verses 4 and 5 that we read yesterday. In him was life, the life was the light of men, and the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. It's kind of like my own personal Gandalf moment when he's standing in front of the Balrog and he slams his staff and he says, "You shall not pass." It's like me telling the darkness that is trying to creep in from within and find its way out, that the light will not overcome it. But in order for me to have that light shining so that the light will not be overtaken by darkness, but rather the light will overcome the darkness itself, I got to do some work. And that's what I want to talk about today. We all have to do this work, because if we're going to follow the light, then we have to not just follow it, but we need to seek it out. We need to go and chase after the light. The Gospel of John, after those verses 4 and 5, says there was a man who came, who was John. He's talking about John the Baptist, who came to give everyone a heads up that the light that would overcome the darkness was on its way. And then he says something beautiful in verses 7 and 8. He came for testimony, to bear witness to the light, that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but he came to bear witness to the light. This is something that for us is a message of hope. We are called to seek out that light. And we have people going before us who bear witness to that light, who show us what the light is doing, who show us where the light is, who show us how to find the light. They become beacons. They become lighthouses, if you will, that draw us in, that are places where we can follow. And they present for us a choice. Are we chasing the darkness that just feeds and continually feeds that darkness that is within, that lies to us and tell us that it's giving us enlightenment, that tells us that it's showing us the new way, the right way of thinking, that it's using science as though we're not using science, that it's doing all of these different things that are just feeding into our darkness? Or are we chasing light? Are we following those who are bearing witness to the light so that we can follow after that light, so that light can be infused within us and the darkness that is trying to fight its way out of us does not overcome the light, but is overcome by the light? We say not today. We say you shall not pass. And we hear in verse 9 of John, the true light that enlightens every man was coming into the world. I want to talk about that word enlighten, because we hear it all the time that somehow we're not enlightened if we're chasing after Christ. That somehow we're not being smart because we're following this voodoo magic stuff. And we're not following the smart things, the rational things, the reasoned things. And they say that we are not enlightened. But if Christ is the light that enters into the world, and if Christ's light shows us how to overcome darkness, then we are in fact enlightened. Because if the enlightenment that we are being sold, that is being peddled to us, that is trying to drag us further into the darkness is not light, then it cannot enlighten you. It cannot take you to the places that you need to go so that you can overcome the darkness that is fighting and burning itself up within, that is trying to fight its way out, that is wanting to completely overtake everything that's within you. So I urge you, chase after the light. Chase after the light so that you may follow what Christ's teachings are doing. That life of the cross, that crucifixion living, that is the only thing that actually gets us through the darkness. That actually takes us away from the dark and into the light. And then we too can become witnesses of the light. We too can become beacons that are bringing others along the way that John the Baptist did, bringing others towards the light. We're here to help you find that light, to fight for that light, to chase after it with products like UTB that are taking God's word, which is the light that enlightens all of us and shows us how to put it into action every single day in our lives, so that darkness within, we say to it, not today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and until we see you then, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.